cast is so beautiful when the lights are low. Rolling over the couches, you can see the spice in the air. Who will be our next listener? Who will be our biggest fan?
Welcome back, everybody. This is Weirdly Artistic episode 40.
Episode 40.
And what are we doing today?
We doing it.
We doing it.
We're following the Bene Gesserit's prophets, and we're gonna talk Dune today.
Lisan al-Qaib.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
Dude. Okay, so today, Nick and I wanted to talk about Dune.
Yeah, we do.
So
I've been dying to talk about it.
I want to say I'm fairly new to the fandom.
Yeah.
I think I watched the first movie last year. You got me to watch it.
Mhm.
Like you've gotten to me to
Most
watch
movies.
like a lot of movies. Not most, but a lot.
A lot. Notable movies.
Great freaking movie. So Dune
Unreal.
1.
Dune Part
For
1.
those who don't know, it's part of a book. It's
Mhm. It's the first half of the first book. Actually, it's 400 pages into the first book.
and it's 900 pages.
Yeah.
So about a good third to half.
Yeah.
Right.
Just under half.
So great story, well shot. Danny did a fantastic job.
Denny. He's on the rise, dude.
Dude,
Think
it
of the
was-
movies he's done. Prisoner, Enemy, Blade Runner 2049. That's Denny, bro.
You know what? Okay, so the color does remind me a lot
Mhm.
of Blade Runner.
Yeah, dude.
Wow. Okay. I
It's
didn't realize
Denny.
it was
the
Denny.
softness of
And
all of
you've
it.
mentioned that Blade Runner was Denny, but
Mhm.
I forgot, and you're right.
You know who
the
else?
the Vegas scene.
Oh,
The Vegas scene is
Dune.
literally the same as
the intro
Arrakis.
to Dune 2.
It is
Yeah.
that beautiful
perfect.
orange. And then
Rich,
the
rich
rain
orange.
scenes, beautiful blue, and I think you see that a lot in, I guess like, is it the Harkonnen planet?
Yeah, Getty Prime.
And then the Imperial.
I always forget the name of the. I should have looked that up. I'm gonna look it up before we get too deep because we're definitely gonna have to talk about it. Name.
The Imperial Army is the
Sardaukar.
Sardaukar, right? I knew there was a K somewhere. The Sardaukar, but the rain, dude. It's like forever raining. At least every time they show it, it's like basically raining in the first movie.
It's yeah. Well,
And-
it depends on what part of the planet you're on because there's like overpopulated Coruscant type areas,
Okay.
and then there's like Naboo type areas.
Okay.
So it just depends.
Interesting. And I'm guessing it's more like the Imperial anarchy, or not anarchy,
Just
but
depends
monarchy
on who's involved.
areas that are going to be the more Naboo looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, actually, yeah.
More power,
it's,
more space.
It's literally, yeah, the coloring is fantastic. And with the second movie, what I told you, like after, I think my favorite scenes, and not because the story, but like color wise, when they were like actually at the Harkonnen Coliseum.
The Black Sun.
The black sun, it's literally black and white, but not black and white, traditional black and white. It's
It
like,
almost seems negative.
That's exactly what I
Okay,
was telling
before
you,
we
right?
get too deep into this, rate the movie. What would you rate? So everyone's seen
Okay.
Dune 1. If you haven't seen it yet, that's your own problem. Go deal with it.
And I guess, so spoiler alerts, we are going to be talking about Dune 2. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend stopping the episode and then
Right
watching
now.
it at some point, or torrenting it, whatever. We don't
Bootlegging
condone
it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't condone torrenting it, but I know it's
Yeah.
a thing.
It's definitely out there.
But go watch it. We're going
We
to
all need
spoil
our
a lot of
spice.
it. But I think for me, it would be a good like 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
9.5 out of 10 minimum.
Minimum, dude.
And dude, the coloring.
I'll never give a movie a perfect rating. It'll never be a 10 out of 10 for me.
There's, and we've talked a lot about this recently, about how a movie can be bad, but if you hit the right things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you hit the right things for the people that actually give a shit, It does not matter.
The
as long
movie,
as-
from a critic's review, could be like a 7.5. But if it hits everything that I need it to be, it's
as-
a 10 out of 10.
As a fan of the
Yeah.
fandom, or that's fucking redundant.
A
But
fan
a-
of
as,
the
a, as a
lore.
member of the fandom,
Yeah, there we go.
as a fan of the fan, yeah. As a member of the fandom, if it hits everything you want the movie to hit, it's good.
It's perfect.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's all you want. That's all
Like
you
Top
want.
Gun Maverick
Mhm.
was not a perfect movie, but they hit everything for me. And so, end of day, 9.8, 9.9 out of 10.
Yeah.
In all
It's-
reality, if I look at it as a critic, it's like, okay, that's probably like a 7, 8, maybe 8,
8,
1, you know?
But that's the biggest rule is know your audience. If you're hitting
Yeah.
the things that your audience wants to see or
Dude.
hear or whatever, it's going to be great.
Denny Villeneuve not only did that for Dune 2 or Part 2, it's not Dune 2, it's
Dune
Part 2. Because it's still the same book. He not only hit on everything that was important in the book that you needed to know,
Yeah.
know. He hit on the vision of it. The first thing that I said to Mac when we walked out of the theaters, that's exactly how I imagined everything. Like, that's just how you see it.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy for a director to take a book that's almost 70 years old.
It's that old. I guess,
out in
yeah, it was
63.
before Star Wars,
Yeah.
which is something we're going to talk about later.
Came out in 63, which is like
Jesus.
absurd, dude. He was so ahead of his time, Frank Herbert.
That was 60 years ago.
And you, for something that dense, he had to have been writing it for at least 5 to 6 years beforehand. So
Dude,
he was
no,
touching that in
longer.
the 50s, maybe even
It's
longer.
almost 1,000 pages long. I guarantee you he was writing that for like 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I think he was writing the whole thing, and then he just kind of like condensed it into the separate stories that
but
he wanted to.
I mean, you said there was like 6, 7 books, something like that.
Yeah, there's Dune, then there's Messiah, then there's Children of Dune. There's Heretics of Dune, there's Royalty of Dune, then there's each of the books on each of the houses.
Oh,
Like,
what?
Yeah, you can go into the Harkonnens, you can go into the Atreides, you can go into the Imperium. Like, there's a
See,
lot
and
of depth.
I'm kind of sad that I'm
You're
a
late.
year into this,
Yeah.
but I never really knew about Dune.
Mm.
And one thing I tell you all the time is my biggest thing is the lore.
Oh,
Like the world building. That's what makes me appreciate a good book, a good movie, anything.
Imagine-
if the world building is there and they do a
It's
good
there.
job, it comes together so fucking beautifully.
imagine, so, like, you have an ice cream carton, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ice cream carton is all of the sci-fi that Dune has created. Star Wars is like when they serve you
It's a
your
scoop.
cone, you know, and they like keep scraping off the top. That's Star Wars compared to the Dune lore.
And I guess like,
You have no idea, dude.
one thing that is cool with Star Wars is there's so many books out there
Yeah,
that
but
we don't even know about. But again, and we'll touch on this a little bit after how Dune is basically the grandfather of all sci-fi.
yeah, I
in a
mean,
s-
it
like-
came out
like,
before
if you
like
think about it-
2001: Space Odyssey. It came out before all this
If you
stuff.
think
like,
about it, I mean, and I might be, that might be a little bit of an overstretched statement,
I agree with it.
but I'm now realizing Dune really crawled and walked, so a lot
Everyone
of
else
different
could sprint.
things could run.
Yeah,
Like now that Dune 2 has been out for a week, we saw it last week, right? Was the last?
no, we saw it 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Almost. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. We had
But-
one of the first showings in Washington. What's up?
It was the
Get
first
that
showing,
Regal
right?
card. There was 3 or 4 other theaters
Same
doing
day?
the same day,
Okay.
but we
But
were
we
one
got
of like 6 in the
Day
state.
day one in the state, and you so many comparisons to other stuff, and I think one of the biggest ones is Star Wars.
Easily. I mean, I think the first thing that I told you that it was getting compared to was Empire Strikes Back, Return of the King, and or Two
Return
Towers.
of the King
It
was
depends
actually
on
okay.
like
Yeah. One of the
which pieces you correlate it to, but essentially Two Towers and Return of the King are kind of like a meshed that they split up anyways.
right.
And then Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
with
And
the explanation of every house at this point.
and I remember you said that it was Dune is kind of like a amalgamation. I guess not that's the wrong word, but a combination of like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and I mean at this point Game of Thrones as well.
And yeah, I
Because
guess
of all the different houses.
So I guess that's what I was about to say. Is the different house aspect is more Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And again, so you see all these different things that came out after Dune. Dune really influenced a lot of these things. I think that's where
everything.
I think that's where George R.R. Martin really got his house thing.
I mean, the guy's like
from
70 years old.
Dude, he was probably reading it as a child.
Dune back when the friggin' 40s was going on. And he was
Star Wars has that whole like intergalactic war, Star Wars.
It's just Star Wars.
And then Lord of the Rings just has that old school like
it's like fantasy /
magical,
whimsical. Like
fantastical, I want to say.
Like the magic and the inclusion of sword fighting. And what's interesting about Dune is like, why are they sword fighting?
Well, don't they kind of explain it as like they got so advanced that the armor itself only...
They don't even have to wear armor. The shields that they wear.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, like not the armor itself, but the shield, right? Like it prevents anything from getting in at a certain speed. And then that's why the slow blade comes into play. So they advanced so much that they had to go back.
Yeah, which is like, it seems interesting, but I feel like, I mean, they're in the year 10,000. Like, I feel that they've advanced 3 times and then come back. Like they've advanced, come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's 8,000 years from now. It's like 10,191 in the first scene of Dune 1. And so it's like, oh, okay. We have no relation at all. Like Star Wars, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, we know this is out of relation, but they don't really tell you when. It's in a...
They do tell you when. It's
galaxy
in a galaxy
far
away, a long time ago.
So maybe it was beforehand. Maybe it was
so I guess that was George Lucas's way of like, I was here first.
Yeah, he's like, I was way before you. It's in a galaxy.
Well, my storyline actually takes place before yours.
So it's like the year 4000. So are we watching Star Wars as future? It makes sense.
Dune is the future of Star Wars.
We're watching it from Dune's perspective.
Well, I guess, yeah. Like
the way that he wrote the intro, that's the way it sounds like. In a galaxy far, far away, a
long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Or does time work differently and it hasn't happened yet?
Well, I guess we'll have to wait for Ahsoka season 2 to...
Then we'll know.
That's when they start galaxy traveling.
Galaxy, yeah. Then we know.
'Cause it's really just one galaxy, right? Like the Star Wars thing is one galaxy, and now they're starting to go into different galaxies.
Kind of.
Well, that's why they need the
whales.
The whales or the mega...
The Purgles.
The Purgles. The mega fucking ring, yeah.
Yeah. So the world that they're in is outside of the Outer Rim. That's where Ahsoka and them are. So it's unmapped. So it's hard. You can't get out of it.
Well, it's a whole second galaxy where they're at. Though Thrawn is like where Thrawn got sent to is a whole different galaxy.
So there's no way to get out of it without a certain engine and a certain map.
Right.
It's the same with Dune. The Imperium is the known universe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, and that's okay. Which kind of brings us.
Let's go back into this. Yeah,
it brings us into more of the. But the differences between the book and the 2 movies. So, book 1, Dune, is the 2 movies. The end of Dune 2 is the end of the book, and that eventually will lead into Dune Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I asked you coming out of the theater was, what are the differences between the book and the movie?
There's no way I could tell you all those by the time we got to the car.
But like major differences. And that was kind of like my biggest thing is like, what's the biggest differences?
I think.
And did they change the storyline or the way you felt about the story?
The more research I've done, the more I found differences.
Mm-hmm.
Because I read the book. I finished the book before Dune 1 came out.
Okay.
So I'd read the entire thing in 2021.
So you were like a little fuzzy. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been like 2.5 years. I wasn't super fuzzy, but there was some stuff where I was like, oh,
I
like
remember.
listening
Yeah,
to people.
I
like,
remember
I'm
now,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay. The biggest difference is Chani is an undeniable, unreliable, super loyal follower of Paul through the book. She does
Okay.
not leave his side.
Even because at the spoilers, at the end of the movie, she leaves.
Yeah.
She goes off on her own. Does she do that in the book?
No.
Really?
And Denny has come out and explained why he's doing that. And it's to give Chani a voice for that side of things, which I appreciate. I think that's super cool. I think that it's not hindering the story at all. I think a lot of people are saying that you could have pulled Chani out of the movie for Dune 2 and it wouldn't have changed the story at all.
No.
I liked her.
I don't feel that way, and here's why. She was a huge reason for Paul's growth.
Agreed. She was the stability.
She was the stability, but she was, aside from Stilgar, the main driving force of him learning all their culture and everything.
She was also the only one that was honest with him, regardless of who he was or who he was becoming.
So, like, I would have to disagree with what was said.
I agree.
If Chani was not there, it would not have made a difference. But like, if you really think about it, through half to 2/3 of the movie, she's the main driving force for him as to why he is trying. And again, he is trying to fulfill his destiny and go with his visions and all that. But if it wasn't for Chani, he would not have gotten to where he was.
He also wouldn't have woken up from the water of life.
Exactly.
Because
she was part of the prophecy.
Yeah.
Right. Her
so
name her name literally translates to spring water.
And woke him up.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of the prophecy.
And so you couldn't have cut her, but I agree with you. There's no way.
There's no way. No, like, and that's, I feel like people overlook the little subtle things like that where it's like, oh, well, whatever. But it's like, no, like she
would
played,
still be sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Not just that, but like he would not have gotten there.
Yeah.
He would not have gone to the ritual if it wasn't for her.
That's true as well.
That's kind of what I'm saying is like she swayed him. She in a sense, like, she became soft for him, and they became a couple.
Yeah.
But like, she taught him a lot of what he needed to learn as far as a Fremen to become who he needed to become.
She forgets that he's been training his whole life
for this, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Which I think that was one of my other favorite things after the second one is, like, I love foreshadowing in stories. I love when there's a hidden agenda that you don't really see coming. And I guess you do see it coming.
He says it in the tent.
No, like, he sees all of this coming, and they're very, in the story, they're very upfront that the Bene Gesserit are kind of behind the scenes controlling everything. But I love
they believe what they're told.
The extent of what they're doing, and they've been doing it for centuries and millennia.
He says it right to their face. Remember, he says, your family has been fighting the Harkonnens for decades. Mine has been fighting them for centuries.
Yeah.
I know how they think. I know how they breathe. I know how they move.
Yeah.
No one took that to heart into understanding that he's a false prophet, dude.
Yeah.
He just knows how all of this stuff works, and then you taught him how your planet works, so now he's in control of all of it.
So do you think it was actually, like, destiny?
No.
Or do you think it was just circumstantial that he got to the point where he got? Because
he wouldn't have gotten there without Jessica.
I guess I need to read the books to just answer my own questions. Because I doubt anyone would probably be able to answer this. But is she the only one that can wake anyone up? Or was it only Paul that could wake up from her tears? Because I remember one big thing is no man can survive that. Right, the women can. The women can. The men can't. Is that all men, or is it all men with the spring water, or is it only Paul with the spring water?
I think that, and these are just my speculations.
Again,
based
that's
off
what I'm saying.
Asking,
like no one. I'm sure no one but the writer could probably answer
this. But here's my speculations: is it had never been tried for a man to drink it until we had this idea that the Lisan al-Gaib is here. And so he's like, we have to let him try the water of life. But what if it just one tear is what wakes them up? It'd wake up any man.
And that's okay.
That's the question, is that does just one tear wake up?
And is it just any tear, or is it just Chani's tears? Like that's like, it's like there's so many different things, like just more part of the lore that like
you dive super deep into.
But all around, it was just so well written.
Keeping into the Chani differences, so when he goes into the battle with Foyd Rafa, when they both say, "May thy knife chip and shatter," he, before going, he does tell her, he says, "I will love you until the day I die." Once he beats Foyd Rafa in the book, which, by the way, he stabs him through the bottom of the jaw. It's a sick scene, dude. He like blocks and then just...
That's sick.
That's the way it happens in the 86 or 84 movie as well.
Remember you said it's basically them reading the book to you, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's so not good.
Is it... I haven't seen the first movie.
It's the whole book in one movie.
How long is it?
Only as long as Dune Part 2.
But they read the whole thing?
They don't actually just read it to you.
No, I know, but do they skip big portions of it?
So
or is it like every portion and it's just like sped through real quick?
It's pretty sped through.
Okay.
But, like in film, the rule is show, don't tell.
Yeah.
And so, like, Denny
they kind of
wants to expand and let you envelop and digest what he's showing you instead of telling you.
And I guess the first one was kind of a mixture of telling and showing to the best ability.
Telling.
Right.
It's mostly just like
with the
reading
technology, it's really like, we're going to tell you, but we're going to show you to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Okay. But now it's like, we're just going to show you.
And I mean, similar to Avatar, it's like, I think they were just waiting for the technology
to catch up.
To be able to film and really give what's the correct way to say this? I guess like give credit, like
justice.
Justice. Yes, thank you. Give justice to what it was supposed to be.
Denny nailed it.
He did, dude,
but
so good.
Ending on that point is he actually tells Chani and the Emperor's daughter after he beats Foyd, and he goes, "I will marry you, but I will never touch you, and I will never be with you. She is my lover, and this is the person I will be with."
That's what I told you. Like, I was like, I don't know how I feel about him, like, descending.
If you read the book when you saw that happen, you're like, Chani's decision was so selfish as Denny made her look out to be.
Okay.
But if you've read the book, you understand that Paul wouldn't have done that at this point.
Well, that's
at this point.
Like, I wouldn't say that if. Wait, repeat that one time. If you had read the book, you would have known that Paul would not have chosen the Emperor's daughter over Chani at this point. Okay, because the way I felt it was scummy of Paul to say one thing and say, I will
literally
always
30 seconds beforehand,
and then fights Austin and beats him, and then is just like, you know what, I'm just gonna become emperor and kind of like push away everything I just said and have made you guys to believe.
I think that was for the non-readers.
I didn't like that ending. Like, I didn't like it.
Denny, though, he knows the control he has over his viewers. Like, even as a person that read it, he swayed my 3 hours. Like, every decision he made, I was just so enveloped in. And even seeing it, I didn't realize what was happening until then. I was like, man, that was messed up. And then I'm like, wait, Nick, you've read the book.
No,
like, that's not what happened.
And that's kind of like, I haven't read the book, but at the very beginning and from Dune 1, I was like, you know what? He is the Messiah. He is, for the people. He is trying to free them and everything, but slowly, similar to Daenerys. And I like his descent a little more than hers. But
it's because they actually showed you.
It still didn't feel natural. Like, it still was just like, I don't think.
I think that was on purpose, though.
Okay.
I think it was really on purpose.
I wasn't a big fan of him, I guess, like, doing like a 180. Because he was very righteous, and then all of a sudden he was like, I want the throne.
That was not 180. in Dune 1, he's talking to Dr. Kynes, who is helping them break out. This is in the movie as well. This is movie and book. And it's right before the Harkonnens are about to break into the royal suite with their big-ass laser gun. And he's like, why don't we just convince this person to do this, and then I can convince them into becoming the husband of the emperor's daughter. And Dr. Kynes is like, are you trying to persuade me to help you to gain the throne? And Jessica's like, enough. So she already knows that's the plan. She already knows that's where they're headed. Paul is already starting to think that way. This is not an instant 180.
Okay.
Even Jessica is laying thoughts in Paul's head.
I understand that. For the character that he was built up to be in the movies, it just seemed out of character for him to go after the throne in that way.
If you didn't see the switch in the siege, then you missed when he turned.
What do you mean?
So you know when before they go up to fight, before they meet up with the emperor and everyone, and he goes down to the siege and he walks in alone?
Yeah.
And Chani's watching him, and she's trying to talk to everyone, and Gurney Halleck pulls her down, and she goes, you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's the switch. That's when you realize, because he pulls, remember when he wants to learn the ways of Dune, he puts his Atreides ring away.
That's right. Yeah.
And he says, I am one with these people. And then the second he's alone on that pedestal in the siege, and he pulls that out and says, I am Paul Atreides, Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. He is saying to you, I have chosen myself over you. Because you know what he would have said if he was there to fight for the Fremen? I am Usil Muad'Dib Atreides.
Okay, that's fair.
And he would not have put the ring on.
He introduced himself as more Atreides, Duke
I am Paul
of Arrakis,
Muad'Dib Atreides.
Instead of
Asul Muad'Dib.
Instead of desert hamster.
Yeah. Well, Asul was the Fremen name he was given.
Usul, it was the little
Muad'Dib is the small mouse.
That's what. Yeah. Okay.
And Asul is the name that Stilgar gave him.
But it meant something, wasn't it?
I can't remember what it means.
But
okay,
point, but yeah.
I'm like, I'm going through the file cabinet of Dune right now.
But it just, I don't know, like the switch. It just,
I guess there.
I guess, yeah. I guess it was there. Now. I guess I was more just like, damn, and just disappointed in him, which is just great storytelling. Like that's great storytelling for me to give a shit enough to be like, you know what, you should not have done that. Let me lecture you. Great story. It made me feel.
You would have lost a finger if you pointed at Paul,
me feel, bro. I will.
That Cessna?
As is written.
As is written.
But yeah, okay. And that's just great storytelling, like that anyone would just like feel some sort of emotion about it, right? And I was telling you about
I was tearing
Jessica.
up just by some of the shots.
Beautiful shots. But Jessica, you're kind of, in the first movie, you're kind of like, okay, she's just kind of along for the ride, trying to push things in a certain direction. Dune 2, Part 2, when she awakens with her fetus.
Yeah.
I got the fucking chills.
You knew.
We haven't talked about that until today, when I was like, I did not feel very easy about it. It was an uneasy feeling of sinister, just this dark vibe.
Well, she has the power of a full-grown woman and a baby.
And that, dude, like that, like if a movie or book or anything is able to make you feel like, oh shit, bro, great storytelling.
This is not good.
Dude, they did such a good job of the character development, the scenes, the coloring, just it was all so good.
Some backstory on Jessica. She's a Bene Gesserit. She is trained in the ways of the witch. She's not a witch, but that's just what the galaxies call them. They are witches. They can essentially control your emotions with the tone of their voice. So, like, I could change the tone of my voice and tell Jose to pick his nose and be like, pick your nose. And, like, then you do that. But she drinks this water of life, which is from Arrakis. And Arrakis, every single planet, when you become the head mother, which is a truth sayer and or someone
I guess
that
it's like the Bene Gesserit advisor to the Duke of whatever planet.
Duke, Baron, right? Or Emperor of any planet.
The leader of the planet, it's like their Bene Gesserit advisor.
Yeah, and so they can essentially like advise on emotions and thoughts. Mm-hmm. So like if someone's lying to you, they can give a hand signal and be like, this person is lying.
Yeah.
And then the Emperor knows how to respond, or the Duke or Baron. Jessica takes the water of life, and every planet before you become a truth sayer has a test that you have to go through. And so the box is the typical test.
Okay.
For the Emperor, for Duke, like that's typically the test, and that's what Paul went through.
Okay.
In the book, Foyd Rafa does as well, and it's fucked. It's pretty. I don't say the F word on the podcast much. They don't show.
They don't show it on the movie.
Yeah, they do. Okay. It's not a super necessary scene. You know, in the movie, Foyd Rafa is very powerful. Like the second they announce him,
and he was the younger brother,
throat,
and he like literally just like Batista. He's like, bro, get the fuck out of the way. I will fuck you up.
Let me deal with this. Yeah, so like that's. I think that was one scene that was cut that was very much necessary, and it was like, this isn't like Austin Butler brought it. And we knew this guy was in charge. And if anyone that takes a blade and just puts it to the tip of their tongue, just tests the sharpness, you're tougher than me.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then he cuts someone's throat and says, could be sharper at the tip. It's like,
bro,
yo, no one even heard the noise of it going through her throat.
He kills 2 girls as they introduce him.
Yeah, he stabs the second one like 4 times.
Like his first scene, they give him the knife, and he's just like, she's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then he has like cannibal like chicks that are just there in his room.
Not cannibal chicks, they're creatures. It's like in the first Dune movie, they're like humanoid spider things. Okay. Yeah.
But they were just humanoid.
Well, they
have like black teeth and
yeah, it's weird. It gets you gotta read it. I know you'll fly through it once you get rolling. You got to get through like the first 300 pages,
remember,
and then
dude, the third Pendragon book I finished in like a night.
Yeah, dude. Well, Dune will take you longer.
Well, I mean, it's 4 times the length.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and it's also not written for children.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
Sometimes the title would take me like
dude,
8
I read
to
like
10
5
minutes.
books yesterday. They were all Dr. Seuss, but whatever.
Whatever. It's 5 books on my list.
No, but dude, Austin came and he killed that role.
His voice, impeccable.
Coming from Elvis.
Well, not only to
from
like
Elvis. Well, like you heard that he like could not stop talking in that accent, right?
Yeah, if you did it for like 3 years.
Yeah. And then
there's times where I go on
voice
vacation
was just like, dude.
Yeah.
Like the raspiness, dude. It was fucking good.
He spent a few months. I've been watching so much Dune stuff.
Just like
I've read forums, Dune. Like I came prepared for this episode.
I came prepared.
He spent like 2 months with a voice actor going through Stellan Skarsgård, who plays the Baron, and getting his cadence down and getting his sound down, so that when he talked, he emulated the Baron, because that's
that kind of slow and raspy kind of.
But Rabah and Foyd are like so much looking up to, because they're essentially the 2 pivot points of fighting for the Baron. And so Austin's point is like, I have to be him
essentially. Yeah.
I have to be the Baron. Like these characters are fighting for that position in this world. And so it has to be similar.
Okay.
You know what's crazy about the book is there's no mention of them being bald.
Really?
None.
Like, does it say they have hair, or they just don't mention?
There's just no mention.
Interesting.
Here's my speculation.
Just artistic decision.
I think it's very smart if my speculation is correct.
Okay.
I think that Denis Villeneuve wanted to represent that they are gluttonous and believe that they're pure. Because what do the Harkonnens do?
Okay.
Pillage. They're the best race, right? They don't care about what's in front of them. They are the best, so they move in front. So it represents purity, right?
It reminds me of fucking Danny DeVito.
He's
I am pure.
yeah, he's rolling in
He's just bald all across his body. He's just rolling in sanitizer.
the ground.
I am pure.
I'm pure.
That's literally
You
what
see
it
what I'm
reminds
saying,
me.
though?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So that's my speculation on Denny's thought behind that, because it makes sense, right? Like, if you believe you're pure, you're like, there's no mistakes. You all look the same. You like.
Do they talk about their skin color at all?
So their
in the
skin
book?
color is not much different. It's just the only time that you see them. They talk, okay, in the BTS I watch, if you noticed at the night scenes, when the Benny Gesserit chick was like coercing Foyd into the bedroom, their skin was normal toned. It's because it's moonlight.
Is it the dark sun?
It's moonlight. So the dark sun is the only thing that changes them to look like that.
Interesting. Okay.
So when they're on Arrakis, his skin is normal colored. I mean, he's obviously more
It's
pale.
I feel okay. Yeah, it's pretty.
But he
pale,
doesn't live on a desert
But I guess
planet.
their skin doesn't look white until they're in the dark
in
sun.
the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now that you mention that, yeah. And again, I think my favorite colored scenes,
Dude, Getty Prime is unreal.
dude. And I mentioned this. It looks like it was just negative,
Flipped.
and then saturation just brought all the way down to have it just be black and white. The fireworks literally look like that's like what I was like. It's
Well, it's
literally
weird to have the sky white and the fireworks black.
and
like
that's
that's
what
was
made
weird.
me think like, okay, they did the I don't know what it's called, but
Negative.
yeah, just negative,
Just negative. It's
and
a
then just
flip-flop.
desaturated it
Yeah.
all.
Well, and that's what everyone's saying. It's like a black and white that's so untraditional. Like it's not just black and white.
I never would have thought to do black and white fireworks like that.
No.
I never would have thought to do that. But they did such a good job because nothing was blown out. The whites,
Everything was there.
perfect. The blacks, perfect. It was all so well done.
Getty Prime was probably one of the best off-world planets that's been created in the last 20 years. Because we assume like Arrakis, they actually filmed on places that are like on our Earth, Sahara or deserts.
That I would say, and I forgot the planet, but on Ahsoka, when they go to the planet with all the red trees.
The Witch's Planet.
The Witch's Planet. I do like how they colored that one with all the red. And
it was just not as stark, though. Like, this was so out of pocket and so, like, it also fit the bald look of them and like the purity of it.
Yeah, no,
it's black, and the way that they see the world, it's just black and white, right? It's either their way or the highway. So like everything about that whole world ties together, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great fucking job.
Denny,
all around,
I love you. Gosh.
That was, and yeah, I'm super down to go watch it again.
Yeah.
So if we're
Seattle IMAX.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Dune 2 is just all around great.
Do you want to know something crazy about the still suits?
What?
You can poop and pee into them.
I figured the pee.
You can poop into them too. So
do they explain it in the book?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay,
so they explain it in the book.
Okay.
And the first movie. So in
I missed it in the first movie.
No, not the first movie.
Oh,
84 version.
The first movie.
Yeah, it's like
So I was like, all they say is that you just will lose a thimble of water a day.
Yeah. So, that's you gotta assume like, but you don't want to take that off because then you're gonna lose too much water. So you just got poop in your suit. But
just dries it out and
yeah.
That's kind of what I figured. I'm like, it dries your poop, takes the moisture, and just disposes of it.
But it
turns
all
to
happens
sand
in your thighs. So it all happens in the front of your suit. So everything is filtered in your thighs.
You got poopy thighs?
Well, for a little bit. So like if someone went to cut your thigh and they get sprayed, it's gonna be like poop water. Yeah. But they explain that that's the place. So if you notice the way they sit on everything, it's the only thing that doesn't get touched that often.
Interesting.
So all the backs of their suits, the way that they lay on the hills and the way they hide and stuff, the way they hide underground, this is the main place that doesn't ever get touched. So it's like,
don't fuck with them. Don't fuck with the technology.
Yeah. Well, where's the most water come out of poop, dude? Poop and pee.
That's
and wild. So they filter it on the front because it's protected. So it's by all of your core elements as well as here. So all the water and everything is protected.
That's so wild.
Because you're not going to get any water out of your shins.
And again, that's just great world building. He thought of everything.
He thought of everything. Where does the poop get filtered?
What is
How do they sit again? Thighs. Okay.
Notice you guys don't have toilets.
Yeah. They wash their ass with sand. It's said in the first movie.
I think
Gurney Halleck.
Okay, yeah. I was like, it wasn't Duncan, Idaho.
Gurney Halleck asks Duke Leto. It says, or Duke Leto says,
He says something
what's the
along
joke around this planet, Gurney Halleck? Which, by the way, it's interesting that in the movie they always say his full name, because in the book you never see like
his last
just
name
Gurney or just Halleck.
This
It's
is
always
Gurney
Gurney Halleck. Like even in
I guess
in the movie
they
where
kind of do it with Duncan, Idaho.
he always says Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah, they always say Duncan, Idaho, which is such a wild name for like a space. Like
Idaho
Also,
is like
Paul-
400 miles from us.
so Paul, bro. What kind of name is Paul? Like
You know what's interesting about Paul? I was kind of looking into it. I follow this Christian guy, and he was talking about the transition from Saul to Paul. And so Saul in the Bible was someone that killed Christians and then became Paul and became a Christian and like started to like help.
interesting.
The guy was saying, he's like, we got a Paul going to Saul, man. This is bad. This is real bad. Like he was helping and
mean,
now he's turning. It's interesting.
Hey, the power
Flip-flop.
over spice.
Chris Krause is the power over of all.
Power over all.
Yeah. What are the correlations to Star Wars?
Okay, so I don't remember all 16.
I don't remember all
But-
of them either, but
One of the main ones, Desert Planet.
mm,
You got
a chosen one from a desert
a
planet.
chosen one from a desert planet. Royalty family. Not royalty, but like powerful villain
Yeah.
family member.
Villainous.
In Star Wars, it was, villain dad. In Dune, it's villain grandfather
yeah.
and villain
Yeah.
uncle. You got Dew Farmers on Star Wars, and then you
To
have
clarify on the dad and the grandfather, Paul is the grandfather. Darth Vader is the dad.
So
to
the
clarify on that.
Baron. The Baron is the grandfather to Paul.
Well,
Or no,
it
no,
depends
no,
on
no,
how far
that-
in the
no,
story
no.
you are.
Hold on. Hold on, I'm getting confused here.
It depends on where you are.
Okay, I'm not that far yet.
It could be
I
both.
saw it off of the 16
It
things.
could be both.
Oh
Now that
no!
I'm thinking
oh
out loud, it
no.
could be Paul or it could be Harkonnen.
Oh no! Okay, so there's villain family member.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. Alea, Princess Alea,
Which is Jessica's pregnant baby that she's currently holding.
and then we have Princess Leia, who's also a princess in Star Wars. Dew Farmers.
who grows up on a planet just like Caladan.
Yeah, Naboo. Just
No,
pretty.
she grows up on
Alderaan,
Alderaan, yeah.
which is still similar to Naboo
And Caladan,
and Caladan.
which is Paul's planet. George,
Basically,
I'm
like-
becoming a little more upset with
So
you.
we were talking about this. I am a bigger Star Wars fan because the
the
lore.
lore.
I know more of the lore. I grew up with the lore.
I would say my knowledge as of right now, I'm a bigger Star Wars fan, but the more that I get into this,
I'm becoming more of a Dune fan because again, they just do such a good job of
It's
world
better.
building. Yeah,
it's better.
like all around. It's already established. Like
Thank
it
you,
wasn't.
Denny.
And one thing with Star Wars is George Lucas didn't write everything.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Not
So
all the
there was
books
there
either.
was a thing that I don't know if a lot of you know is with Star Wars, George Lucas allows, and I don't know if this has changed recently with Disney now owning them, but George Lucas was okay and actually basically encouraged people to write books of Star Wars, and as long as it didn't contradict with any of the existing canon,
It could be added.
it could be added.
That's such a. You know why he did that? Because he knew
Cop
Dune
out?
was gonna catch
A
his
cop
ass.
out. It was kind. Now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, it's kind of a cop out because
Yeah.
he didn't really like. If he took a lot of this from Dune, there's a lot of the ingenuity that I thought he had. It really isn't there.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm
Star Wars
becoming
is
more
very
and more
successful.
upset.
Indiana Jones is successful. Good job, George. But We got to give it up to Dune. Who's the author?
Frank Herbert.
Frank Herbert.
Which
the real genius.
If you don't know much about Frank Herbert, he wrote 6 books, and then his son took on a couple more. I'll let you figure out if you like those or not.
Are those the house ones?
I can't remember which are which.
But it's all in the Herbert family.
Yeah, Brian Herbert. He was also an executive producer for the Dune 2, which was really cool. So Denny, just doing it right, like bringing the family in and saying, you grew up with these stories. You grew up with the guy that wrote them. Like, let's do this right. Yeah. What do you feel? Is this what you see? Is this how you see this? Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of research on Frank Herbert, and he did a lot of his own back-end art, kind of like George did, I guess, at this point. Like, I'm not going to lie, the more and more I get into Dune, the more
you're seeing
seeing
the similarities.
But the more I'm upset with George for what he did. Like, he didn't copy him, right? He adapted the story really well. I think he obviously adapted it the best out of anyone, right? Because look at how successful it is.
It became a thing, yeah.
It's amazing. It's and, I still love Star Wars with all my heart. Like, there's, I grew up with that and all. But, like, as this stuff starts to come out, and the more that I dive into the lore and the more I read the books, I'm like, damn. Frank, if you would have just been, 20 years older, it would have been you.
Tell me Han isn't just Walmart Duncan, Idaho.
He literally is, though, if you think about it. Like, Han is the greatest smuggler in the galaxy.
And Duncan's the greatest fighter.
Swordsman.
Yeah.
Same. It's the same. And Han trains Luke when Stilgar, who is supposedly the Obi-Wan, isn't there.
Yeah, essentially. And I'm sure I'm going to come to the same conclusion that you're at now, is the more that I read into Dune, the more I'm going to see the correlations and, not stealing, but...
It makes me a little sad.
It does.
It makes me a little sad because so much of my life was Star Wars. Like, so much what it is Star Wars. Like, I still love Star Wars. I'm going to watch everything that comes out.
I'm never going to stop. And dude, this summer, Acolyte.
And dude, I can't wait. But I am just realizing that, nothing's original anymore.
Well, no.
Well, this is.
And this is, and the adaptations that are now coming out are original, because not now, I guess, with Dune 3, if it comes out, when it comes out,
it won't be as original as this, though, because of the changes at the end.
I guess it'll be its original adaptation, but I guess it still won't be a remake of anything already out.
True. This is the only one that will not be a remake.
It's one thing that I haven't necessarily liked of the last, I want to say, decade to 15 years.
Everything's being remade right now.
Everything is being remade, and not in a good way.
Yeah. Rings of Power, I will say, is not a remake.
That's not a remake, but everything else that has been a remake, or they revamp something that shouldn't have a sequel or prequel, and it's just like, you guys are just running out of ideas.
Yeah. Write something new.
And just recycling and regurgitating all this stuff to us.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Yeah. Bastard.
And honestly, I think we were talking about this downstairs, is I think the age of streaming really changed that to what it is now. Game of Thrones, that was one of the biggest examples that we talked about.
We've talked about this multiple times on the podcast.
3 seasons, it was very rushed, and it's something that everyone in the fandom kind of agreed on. It's very rushed. It didn't feel natural with the characters kind of ending up where they ended up. It was just not done well.
It was, well, they felt they had to keep up with the pace of the fans, and it's like, the fans wait for you.
Let me say this. Attack on Titan, one of the biggest animes out there, people have waited 3 to 4 years for seasons to come out. I think we're okay with waiting. What's the worst case that's going to happen?
Can I give you some good news? Denis Villeneuve said he's in no rush to release Dune 3 because of the troubles in Hollywood.
If it's done well, I don't care how long I have to wait.
He said earliest is 2027.
Just fine, dude.
Cool.
Again, we don't...
Honestly, Paul needs to get a little older anyways because it's a 12-year gap between Dune and Messiah.
That's fair.
So let him age.
That's perfect.
I mean, we need like 15 years for Timothy to look older. The guy still looks 14.
It was funny because Amanda and I were watching the first Dune before we went to the movies. And she was like, I don't know what the thing with, like, I don't know what the big deal about Timothy. He's so scrawny.
Yeah, he's a little spider monkey.
Dude, he's what, 25?
No, he's my age.
He's 30?
He's either your age or my age. He's like he's 27.
Bro,
I guarantee 27. I mean, dude, the guy's got suave.
My arm as big as his leg?
It doesn't matter. The guy holds more charisma and acting in one hair strand than any of us.
Let me at him.
You might be able to beat him up, but his skill...
No, and that's... You haven't seen me act, bro.
This is true, but I'm going to tell you, you're not a Timothy Chalamet. You know,
I'm a Jose Nambo.
He was raised in Paris. Both of his parents were stage actors. And he was raised in Paris. He's fluent in French and was literally raised in the theater.
That's,
He was born in 95.
You were born into it.
So he's 28.
Born in 95. He's my age.
Yeah, he's 28. I was telling you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He looks so
He's
young.
a little Spidey monkey.
He looks so young.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's a striking person. Like,
and you know, he looks like, I forget his name, Loki. He looks like a little Loki.
He's a young Loki. He's a striking person. Like,
he's got the Hollywood jawline.
Yeah, he does. He's sharp.
Yeah.
He's a sharp guy.
No, very handsome man. But yeah, he's scrawny. Like, it's just...
Well, even Duncan Idaho makes fun of him. You know that scene was improv. He's like, my boy. He's like,
you
put on some muscle. He goes,
have I? No.
No. Not at all.
That was funny.
But that's the difference. And I think that's why they chose Timothy for this, is because Paul is not supposed to be the biggest.
Okay.
He's the wisest and can see farther. He doesn't have to be strong to beat you.
So is there, like, I guess, not levels, but...
Gears.
Essentially. Like, some people are better at it than others when it comes to spice and the life water? Because spice is the entrance, right? It starts to open up your mind. It makes you trip and start seeing visions. The life water is what really gives you the power to see into the future.
That's only for Bene Gesserit.
Oh, okay. So everyone else just trips?
Mm-hmm.
What are their trips like?
I don't know.
It doesn't say.
They don't go too into depth.
Oh.
I mean, this book is about Paul.
No, I know, but like, you know, I figured they'd, you know, give you a little something of like, you know, everyone is just tripping dick. Paul's just visions.
I mean, they say it in the movies too. It's like it's a hallucination and an understanding of the desert, right?
Okay.
So it's like an understanding of the desert. I've heard some theories of like spice being the byproduct of the worms, and so it's a gift to the people.
You're snorting their poop.
Pretty much, yeah. So like it's rich in areas where they've attacked.
That's okay.
And so it's like not attacked, but protected.
But like where they're at, right? Their habitat.
So the Fremen see them as purifiers of the earth. So anything that's not supposed to be there.
Shai Hulud is like their grandfather. Their god.
Yeah, and that's who Paul rides.
Really?
Yeah, remember Stilgar in the movie?
Well, they just say he's a grandfather worm.
There's only one grandfather worm.
I don't know that. I don't know. There's only one grandfather.
Read the book, bro.
Yeah, again. Yeah, read the book.
Okay, so yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. It's just like there's a lot of stuff that this is why I love reading books over the movies.
So they show you in the movie what the book is trying to say, and
what is the book saying?
They basically said Paul has come to peace with Shai Hulud. Come to peace, and so when they said that, that's the moment. I just
remembered a meme. It was like a shy worm. It's Shai Hulud.
It's just a little baby worm. But in the movie they showed you where it was like he's come to peace with Shai Hulud, which is the grandfather worm.
Right. Okay. I don't remember
that point. You have to
do they
catch
call
it
him grandfather worm?
Yeah.
Like Shai Hulud himself, they call him Grandfather Worm.
He is Stilgar says it when he's on the hill, when he goes, "Not that big, not a grandfather worm."
Yeah, and that's the way he says it. Not a Grandfather Worm. I
So
assume
that's
there
the
was
first-
multiple.
That's the first bullet point, and then the second one is when the rumor is being spread through the Sieges, and they say Paul has come at peace with Shad Halud.
Okay, so my interpretation of that is that Shai Hulud is the original worm, right? Like
He's a god.
right, God, like the original worm, and I assumed and interpreted this as he's not necessarily an actual worm.
All worms are
but
made
he's
in
an
his image.
overseer. he's an overseeing God spirit that allowed Paul to ride this grandfather worm. That's
so
how I
something else you
interpreted
have
it,
to
right?
remember is that the Fremen are extremely religious people,
Right.
and they believe what they're told.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else you need to consider.
I guess they don't have internet or
Well, no one has internet. Remember?
fake
Yeah.
worm.
Look at Paul riding that grandmother worm.
It's a grandmother worm.
Grr.
It's Guy Hulud, not Shai Hulud. But okay, that was like my interpretation is like Shai Hulud is just a spirit that they
And that's the tough thing between the movies as well.
dude, I'm forgetting
They
so
interpret.
many words.
Or they
worship.
Worship, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing
that's what
between the
I figured is
movies as
they're
well.
that's their god and they worship him. I didn't realize
They
he
see
was an
all
actual
worms.
thing, but they probably see as it's just like they're one of the whole,
Mhm.
right?
They see
So-
all worms as like
As-
a god.
yeah.
But that's the hard thing with the movies as well is like you come into the mesh of the director as well as the writer in their perspective of what they
And they're
believe as well as
Again,
like
they're
what
trying
they're
to
seeing.
show you more versus
than just tell
telling
you. Yeah. And so for me, that scene when Stilgar is like, "Oh, that's too big."
Which, dude,
like, come
he-
on.
He's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Stilgar was
Stilgar
easily
was
the best
the-
part.
He was there. There's nowadays. There's. I mean, all the time, but nowadays more specific. I think there's always a comedic relief
Yeah.
character. And
He was unintentionally the comedic relief.
unintentional, but it was so funny, dude.
So in the book, that's a difference as well. It takes Stilgar a long time to warm up to Paul.
Okay.
A very long
He
time.
instantly was kind of like after their like the battle with Jamis, he was like, "You're with me."
Well, and that's the other thing from the book is there's years on Arrakis.
Oh, okay.
Like the sister's born. Remember I told you?
Right.
In this one, you have to assume that. And what I told Helena, she's like, "How are you able to keep track of the time while we're there?" And I was like,
I assume it's been like less than a year.
"Well, the baby hasn't been born,
That's-
so it's less
that's-
than 8 months."
Yeah.
So in Jessica's stomach was
She
the
was
timekeeper.
pregnant. Yeah.
Remember at the beginning of the movie, she had no bump. And then when they jump from when he goes out into the desert to test as a Fremen, right? He goes, "You got your tent, you've got your compass,
Right.
come back." He walks out. What is the first shot that they show you when he comes back? And then we jump into all the crazy Fremen stuff.
It's her stomach. Yeah. Yeah. It's her
Full-
bump. Yeah.
Time passed. Denny Villeneuve, beautiful way to show time passing. Let's come back, and we've got now a 7-month pregnant lady. How long was Paul out there? We don't know.
A bit.
A while, obviously.
Yeah.
But then we come back, his eyes are blue. Jessica's
And that's,
stomach is big.
That's true. They never show like a gradualness. It's just like they're just blue.
They give you 2 very specific things in this world that take time to get.
Blue eyes. Yeah. And pregnancy.
Denny's
They
brilliant.
did a really good job. Yeah.
And Helena's like, "It seemed a little rushed." And I was like, "No, you missed the facts. You missed
It's
the
in the
details.
subtleness. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the subtle details.
Jessica's now 7 months pregnant, and he has blue eyes.
So I guess Denny just kind of shortened from years to
Months.
about 8-9 months.
Yeah. Which essentially just think of like a month as a year in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the
Does anything major happen in those years aside from what was shown in the movies that they didn't show? Or
no, I think it's just more training, understanding of the world, becoming.
so.
because
I think the reason, and this is all speculation, I think the reason they probably sped it up is to show more of his adaptability, his power, right?
Mhm.
His ability to grow. Like one thing they really touch on all the time is he will know our ways without being taught our ways. And I think to really show how
Everyone
powerful
says
he
that
was,
too. Dr.
how
Kyne
powerful
says it.
it's. Let's speed it up. He already knows. He just needs the practice.
Yeah, or the
So,
attempt.
I think he did a really good job with that as well
And
to show his
he
power.
told them in the tent, I just said this. I've been trained in these ways. I know how they think. I know what they do. Remember when he tries
Yeah.
he tries to mansplain Zendaya?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, in my film books, it says to do it this way. He has been learning about all of you for months and months. The Bene Gesserit set this up.
Which, again, let me touch back on that. One of my favorite parts is how
Their
in
control.
the shadows, and like no one really knows aside from the Bene Gesserit themselves of what's been going on is they've been breeding the houses together
Our plans are
for
centuries ahead.
generations, bro.
Yeah.
Generations to get this mixed baby of all these different
The Kwisatz
bloodlines.
Haderach, which is what they're aiming for.
That's exactly. It's their Messiah, right? Their
Yeah.
their Lisan al Gaib in
Their
their belief.
Mahdi.
In their belief, and they've been doing all these things behind the shadows to get Paul or
Rafa.
Rafa.
Fed Rafa.
Ratha?
Rafa.
TH, right?
Yeah, Ratha.
Yeah, Ratha.
Yeah, and
Because they're essentially both like in line. It's one of the two.
mm-hmm.
One of the two to take the Imperium.
Which I think that the Bene Gesserit hoped it was Foyd Rafa.
I mean, I think they were more able to control him.
Mm-hmm. Because he
That's-
wasn't a Bene Gesserit.
Well, that's yeah. He wasn't trained as a Bene Gesserit, and also one thing they talked is how easily manipulated
Sexually and emotionally
he was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm guessing
Where Paul is no longer manipulatable.
He's a wild cannon.
Silence! Carefully consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides. Silence! Just like, dude,
even I
that
was like, oh
scene-
fuck, my bad, bro.
Yes.
Sorry. It's my
Okay,
phone.
okay. I was just trying to talk to my wife.
Yeah.
Holy
No,
hell.
dude, all around great 2 movies.
Yeah. If you have not seen any of the Dunes, please.
And 2 for
Go
sure was
watch
much
them.
better than 1.
I would
And
not say it's better.
I-
And here's why. I read a great thing. 1 was new, and it was amazing. and
new
it was
bias, yeah.
and it was-
Recency bias is a big thing.
And it
Yeah,
was-
You're right.
it was nothing we'd ever seen before.
No, you're right.
2 was one of the greatest add-ons ever
Yeah.
to something that we already knew about.
And that's true. I think recency bias does play a huge.
Oh yeah, if I'm going to
Huge
say
part
right
of
off the
it.
bat, Dune 2 is way better than 1. But if you think about it,
If I think about it,
it's
I
the
didn't see
same.
Dune 1 in IMAX.
that's your own damn fault.
That is. But yeah, and again, if I had known about the books, I would have been like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," and probably
Yeah.
watched it. But I didn't even know about the books until you told me about it last year.
I got to thank Mac Henderson for that one. I know you're
You know
listening.
what? I still need to watch or read Red Rising.
Red Rising.
Mac recommended it.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's the other one.
Okay,
that I
Mac
really
is a freaking bookworm, though, dude. This guy can fly through books like you can, where me, it's like I got to read a couple lines a couple times to...
I think I just have too much reading going on at the same time.
I'm
Like,
also, like, reading my sharpening
that,
books right now. that
the
I'm-
the manga I was telling you about. So
Yeah.
it's what's out is 400 chapters. Each chapter is about 20 pages. It
Oh,
took
okay,
me
it's not-
took me a week to get through it
Okay, that's not that long, though. Like,
with a hundred chapter cap per day.
Dune, the first book, took me 5.5 months of reading,
Jeez.
like, 4 nights a week.
Oh shit! But you
It's-
said it's dense and it's not written for children, so it's Sometimes it takes a couple tries to really understand what the fuck.
You have to write name. Like I literally had to write names down, so
like,
that like when I
remember
come
who,
back, like if they introduce someone, I started writing their name down and literally what he wrote in the book of who he was correlated to.
Do they have a little legend in the back with like all the names and different terms for everything? Because in some books, whenever like they're world building, like at the end of the book after it's over, they have like a couple pages of
I read it on the
Harkonnens,
Kindle.
and it's like it'll tell you what Harkonnen is or what it means.
I read it on the Kindle, so I don't
Okay.
know. I will tell you, I think you're gonna have a better time reading it now that you've seen both, because you have faces to put to the names.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're gonna be doing is filling in the blanks.
That's one thing that always, it doesn't ruin it for me, but when I have an image of a character in my mind and if it's not necessarily like close, I'm just like, damn, that's not what I thought.
Let me tell you, this is the closest
Not that that's a bad
adaptation
thing.
you'll ever see compared to Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Like, this is the closest adaptation you will ever see.
It's wild how much Danny Radcliffe really looked like Harry Potter. Like, it's kind of
Except
wild.
the only thing is his hair was curly.
Where? In the books?
In the books.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It was shaggy. It's not
Shag-
curly. I have curly hair.
I would say that Shaggy, I guess if you
Shaggy's
think of like
messy.
Shaggy, the name, like the character off Scooby-Doo.
Well, no,
it's just like
shaggy hair is just kind of like tussled,
Messy,
kind of thick,
tasseled,
and,
yeah.
But curly,
I guess I went to it as like curly when I was reading it.
shaggy,
Shaggy.
zoinks,
like zoinks.
like zoinks, Scoob.
Yeah, so watch Dune, read Dune. If you're into sci-fi, Denis Villeneuve
It hits
is
the
just
points that you want hit.
yeah, and Denis is just on another level. This guy's going down. He's going down in the Hall of Fame.
One of the greats.
He's done Prisoner, Enemy, Sicario, Blade Runner.
Yeah, Blade Runner.
both the Dunes.
Both Dunes.
This guy is incredible. He's
His coloring alone, dude.
Just-
Jesus.
I would
And
say,
I know he's not himself coloring,
but it's his
but
vision.
it's his vision. Like this is what he wanted, and he did a really
nailed
good
it.
fucking job.
He nailed it. I think that's one of the first movies I've walked out of almost speechless. I don't remember saying much to anyone after we walked out of that film.
Well, there was like two people between the group and us.
Well, I mean, on the way out,
No,
as we're walking out,
yeah.
I just don't remember saying much or like
No, and
just like
that's
kind of
all
digesting
I wanted.
the
The only
film.
thing I asked was how was it compared to the book? Like, is there any major differences? And that's, dude, it was great all around.
Time, Chani, and Foyd's hair.
And Stilgar.
And
But you said it was years of
yeah,
desert
it's just the
instead
difference
of, like,
of the
months.
time frame.
So I think that's why they probably had to change that. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of that is probably why they changed it, is because they shortened the timeline of everything.
which I liked.
Again, I think it showed his power. I think they did a really good job of showing that and not dragging it on.
Yeah,
'Cause
which is
I think-
unnecessary for a movie platform.
I think, yeah, because, I mean, if you're going to age someone 4 to 5 years, why do it badly when you can just change the story a little bit?
Yeah, just progress them a little quicker. I mean, we're already
No-
dealing with
no reason to
mind-bending
create-
witches
Yeah.
and drinking worms' blood. It's like, let's just go ahead and
It's
adapt
worm
this a little bit.
pee.
Well,
At least that's what they said or like thought or whatever.
I think it's like
if you remember the Fremen girls when they're talking to Chani,
oh yeah,
and they're outside the ritual with the Jessica.
when Jessica does it, yeah,
And they're like, oh, yeah, she's drinking poison. She's drinking worm pee.
worm pee. Yeah, they think
I was
it's
like,
worm
oh,
pee.
fuck. And then like I was like, is it really worm pee? How do they get it?
Then they show
and then
you
they show you.
when she's walking with it all. Dude, that chick was good too. That scene was. You know what I was thinking about when that scene was happening is, can you imagine living your life in sand, thinking it's like a liquidous form, and then going into water? You ever consider that? You ever consider that
So
scene after that?
wild. No.
You
But
imagine
that's-
drowning in something that you feel is like sand, and then you go to take a breath, and then it's like, oh, this is not.
This is not sand.
I can't breathe in here. Like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Imagine the despair that little baby worm felt. Which, by the way, that baby worm was young, probably
Well,
like 5 to 8
They
years old.
essentially killed it, right?
Oh, it's dead.
Like they drowned it.
Yeah, they drowned it, and then they shoved a giant needle.
Well, they drowned it first, and then they shoved.
Yeah,
but like, I was like, did they just kill that worm?
Yeah. Big, and hairy.
It's an Alaskan
It's an
bullworm.
Alaskan bullworm.
But like, how do they get the baby? Do they lay eggs?
Bro, I don't.
Bro, read the
Depth.
book.
Might have to go back and read Dune
read
again.
the book. How do they mate? How big? How
Here's the
big
deal.
are worm?
In Children of Men, Leto 3 is a worm.
Leto is also a worm.
Leto 3.
I remember you said Paul becomes a worm.
Leto 3.
Leto 3 becomes a worm too.
It's one of Paul's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been
Why?
reading way too much.
Is this in
Because of the
Messiah or is this in
Children of Dune?
It's so like I want to know why. How?
I don't know. I gotta read as well. I gotta
Alright,
catch
dude,
up.
Yeah.
I'm getting into this one.
I'll probably start Dune this weekend.
It's in the Kindle.
I know.
Okay, I have 2 super fun facts, and then we'll end this here. The scene of Paul riding the worm
Mm-hmm.
took 3 months to film.
I saw that.
4-minute
I
scene.
saw that. Yeah.
Dude.
And they just did like a skin or whatever.
Yeah,
of,
and
like
they
the
were
top
just
of the
like-
skin,
And then they'd
it was-
toss them if they needed to.
Well, yeah, I
or-
remember. I think I saw that they just did it in the desert with just like industrial fans
Yeah.
blowing at him, and he's just like on this little skin piece of worm.
Yeah, and it took 3 months to
Yeah.
get all the shots
That's
in there.
insane, dude. 3 months.
Yeah.
That's so long.
Second fun fact: what did the Harkonnens mining ships remind you of?
The sphere.
The Harkonnens.
Oh, okay.
They're mining
That was
ships,
the
the
Imperium,
bug-like
right?
ones. The Imperium is the spheres.
I want to say like, no, those are AT-ATs.
They're not. They're
Um,
not like they are in the books, but in the movie, Denny's perspective is perfect.
What do they look like?
They're ticks
Oh,
because they're sucking the life from Arrakis.
That's they do
The little hands,
Yeah.
and then tick, 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 and then the huge bulbous top.
Oh my god, that's a really good Denny.
Yeah,
Really,
they're
okay.
ticks.
That's
Isn't
really
that
yeah, it's
beautiful, dude?
Again, he did so good with his
It's
adaptation.
unreal. It's unreal.
That's insane. That's really fucking awesome.
Go watch Dune. Go read Dune. Go read a forum on Dune. It's amazing. If you're into films, please do.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Cascadia.
Our sponsors that we never mention.
We're starting now.
We're starting now.
So thank you, Cascadia. As always,
Stay
weird.
Really artistic. Damn, that's weird.